Hi, I'm Christian Schoen. I'm the host of Hometown Heroes. Come and join me to get to know our local heroes and find out why they do what they do and what we can learn from them.
Hi, I'm Fred Schultz, the CEO and founder of the Foundation for Positively Kids, and you're going to hear my story about taking care of medically fragile children here on Hometown Heroes. I'm often asked, why did you start this? Everybody says to me, oh, this is great. Why'd you start this? Why'd you do this? It's so hard. There's no money. It's going to be tough to get support. Nobody's going to help you. It's hard to find volunteers. And I think back to what my father said to me, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. Go make a difference. So that's why you're here, to make a difference.
Thank you so much for coming here today to Hometown Heroes.
Thank you.
And Fred Schultz, you have a very unique name. Are you from Germany?
Well, my family's from Germany originally, and my father's name was Fred, and my grandfather's name was Fred, and so it goes back a couple generations there.
And your family, they're all based here in Las Vegas?
Yes, my mom and dad are both passed away, and I was an only child.
And you came here, I understand, in the middle of the 90s, 95?
94 we came here. 94 came here.
When you grew up, was it any specific role models that you did have?
Well, my dad was primarily my role model. My dad was ill early in his life. About 45 years old, he had a cardiac problem. But he always moved forward with it. He never made an issue out of it. It was like, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, just keep doing what you're supposed to do and that sort of thing. And my mom was probably the tougher one in the family than my dad was. Mom was the tough one. Mom was the one who said, we are going to church and you are going to wear a tie when you go to church and you aren't going to dress like that and you won't wear blue jeans to school. She was the tougher one.
And what do you feel are the strongest values that they influenced you with?
Well, I think there were two. I think one was that your morals. We went to church every Sunday, whether I wanted to go or not, whether I felt like going or not. They were religious, and we went to a Lutheran church in Detroit. And so that was very important that we continued to do that. And through this day, I still go regularly to my church.
So you give a lot of credits to your family.
Oh, yeah.
Is that where you feel it's very critical in terms of, let's say here in Las Vegas?
I think it is. I think that's where it starts. Isn't that the foundation? I mean, that's everybody's foundation, is with your mom or dad or your grandma or your aunt or uncle, whoever raised you, and the family around you that raised you. So that's the foundation that takes you to the next level.
How would you describe yourself?
Driven, obsessed, anal. Is that enough? You don't want any more, do you?
No, so you're very detail-oriented.
Yeah, I am, to the point that I annoy myself sometimes. Everything's got to be just the way I want it as we move forward at work, for instance, or a new project or research, almost to the point sometimes where you do so much of it that you almost become immobile. It's like, let's get on with it. Let's do it already. How much research do you have to do to figure out where to go to the next level?
You have a very clear pathway here that you keep repeating in a very good sense. Where do you think this comes from? Because you're an example of how much an individual can accomplish if they do believe in themselves.
If I convince somebody to be a donor, I get a rush out of that. If I convince the staff to move forward with a project, I get a rush out of that. If I'm marketing someplace to get a referral and they start to refer children to us, I get a rush out of that. I don't think it's any more complex than that. It's an adrenaline rush that I actually get. It's like, yes.
In regards to stamina, because you work a lot and you don't need much sleep. You sleep on average between like 4-5 hours every night.
4 or 5 hours, yeah.
And you still go full speed. Where do you get your reward from?
It's the passion that you have inside you, I think, to make the difference when you go somewhere. I mean, I get a rush out of making a difference. Other people are like, really? Like, this is a big deal to you? And I'm like, yeah, it really is a big deal to me. So I go to bed after the news, after 11 o'clock, and I'm up by 4 or 5 o'clock usually, even on weekends.
Hello, my name is Renee McClymont. I'm the Clinical Director of Positively Kids Home Health Division. My very first year at Positively Kids, our budget was about $700,000. Here we are 5 years later. Thanks to his leadership, our budget is about $3.7 million. And that alone speaks for itself as to how much Positively Kids has grown with his leadership. And he's a true visionary, and that's what I love about him. Fred, we love you, and thank you so much for everything that you have done and will do in the future.
You do a great deal for the community here in Las Vegas. Do you have any guidance for other people?
To make the difference. It's just that simple. Make the difference.
And you also mentioned to me, it's not the size of what you do, it's more the thought behind it that you make a difference in terms of helping out in the community.
You can help just one family, and it feels just as good as if you opened up a $50 million facility with all these beds in it and you cared for hundreds of children. I mean, we've cared for over 10,000 children over the years. But you get the rush from the one child that you can make a difference with.
These kids would not have gotten the proper care. What about them, right?
That's right. There's no long-term care facility, and there's no one agency that provides long-term specific care in the home other than Positively Kids. We had an instance a number of years ago about a mom and a dad who, and a 12-year-old girl in the back seat, who were involved in a head-on collision. And mom and dad both died. And the little girl was on a ventilator for a number of months and was ready to be discharged. And she went to Grandma and Grandpa. And Grandma and Grandpa were elderly, and it became very difficult to care for her. She had a tracheotomy, she had a feeding tube, she had to be turned on a regular basis. The question came to them, what do we do with her? We can't do this. We're in our 70s, 80s. How do we care for this 12-year-old little girl? And she had to go out of state for long-term care. We provided care in the home, but there needed to be long-term care where she could live in a facility and receive that long-term respite care. And when our facility is open, we'll be able to provide that in one of our skilled nursing beds to do that. It's not appropriate to put a child into a nursing home that has a pediatric wing next to grandma who has Alzheimer's. That's not appropriate. And why should we separate families and send a child out of state for long-term care? And that's what's taking place now. We're sending kids out of state for long-term care when they could stay here, and they will when our facility's open. And not all the children we care for are that dramatic, but that makes you feel good at the end of the day. It doesn't mean we don't have challenges all day long. It doesn't mean we don't have situations that anger us. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect and we're all smiley all the time. It means that if you can make a difference with one child, then you've done what you should have done that day, or that week, or that month, or that year. And you know what else is important with that? You're involving the whole family. You're not just taking care of that child. You're helping out that dad who has no place to turn. You're helping out the grandparents who are part of the family. You're helping out the neighbors who are part of the family. So when you care for a child, you're caring for a whole group of people.
You worked basically from the car, I heard, in terms of having the car as an office.
So you did your research, apparently, obviously. Well, I was working at another home health agency at the time, and I wanted to start this agency, this nonprofit, to care for kids who were medically fragile. But I had no money, and I didn't know anything about, not much about nonprofits. I didn't know about putting boards together. I didn't know about bylaws. I didn't know about filing 990 nonprofit tax rules or any of that kind of stuff. And so I just knew that I wanted to take care of kids because I like taking care of sick kids and the families. And so I had a file box in the trunk of my car. And in that file box I had all my folders lined up, all labeled real neat, so I knew where everything was. That was the anal part. And I couldn't use the fax machine at work, so every time there was a lunch break, I would take care of what needed to be done. And I would run to Office Max, and I would fax something to somebody on their fax machine and wait for the answer to come back, and then file it in my little file box in the car. So my office was out of the trunk of my car. So my car kind of looked like a one-bedroom condo with everything in it. It was all cluttered with files and books and names and bylaws and regulations and everything else, and that's how I kind of moved forward with it.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Moore. I'm a patient care counselor here at Positively Kids. As a social worker, every day my job is so fun. I work with community kids, but also foster care kids. You're here today in this wonderful building. It's our Child Haven campus of Positively Kids, where we service foster children, community kids, and it all came to be by the innovative brain of Fred Schultz. He's a great guy. He really can see the need of the community, and he recognized that Department of Family Services needed a lot of support to make sure all the kids got care, from medically to dental to therapy, and it's all in one stop for a lot of our families. The neat thing about Fred is he sees a vision, he sees the passion in families, and he also trusts a lot of his workers to run his organization, and with that we've been growing miraculously. We have a lot of programs, and he really is a great guy.
I'm sure you had a lot of obstacles as you went, and I'm sure not everybody were maybe as excited as you are.
But I like the obstacle. That's the thing, is I like that challenge. What are you talking about? We're not going to be able to do that. Well, let's figure out, how do we do that?
It's really like you mentioned earlier, it's mind over matter.
Mind over matter.
Yes.
It absolutely is.
So basically the goal is so much greater than yourself, and nothing can really stop you in your way to get there.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't see anything that could stop me. 36,000 kids born in Clark County. 15% are medically fragile at some medical acuity level. The ultimate goal is that we convince the Nevada legislature to have a law that actually provides regulation and dollars to always support skilled pediatric facilities.
You chose to basically serve the community, serve someone else than yourself.
You're right.
And that takes... to you, it doesn't seem like sacrifice. To other people, they would probably view it as that.
They might. I don't see it as a sacrifice at all.
And you said basically your reward is to see that you can make a difference.
You need to make a difference.
Do you feel you have any choice in terms of what you're doing? Could you, for example, stop this drive, this passion? I mean, could you turn it off?
No, absolutely not. Before you even finish that sentence. There's no way. I don't want to. There's no way. I really believe that there are what I would call God winks. When something happens, like, wow, why did that happen? What a coincidence. No, it was a God wink.
You feel that you have, like you mentioned, been placed here, I mean, in order to do certain things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know why or how that came to be. As I said earlier, there was no epiphany of some kind. It's like, oh, let's do this to make a difference. It didn't come that way. It just gradually took on a life of its own, if you will.
What has taken place in your life? It's meant to be. Do you feel that there's such a thing as a blueprint?
It's always hard to see it as you go. I don't think there's that many instances that I can bring up that say, oh, this happened because at the moment. But I can always look back and say, that's why that happened. That's why I met that person. That's why that circumstance took place.
You mentioned collaboration as a key factor to your success, meaning you praise your co-workers, you praise the great city council and everyone that you have met and encountered that has helped you to achieve this ultimate goal.
Collaboration and partnerships are really important for success.
What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind?
That the focus was on children, and that there was a difference made not only with the children that were cared for during the time that I was there, but also that there is a regulation to care for children long after we're all gone.
Thank you for coming here today to Hometown Heroes, and on behalf of the more than 2 million people here in Clark County, for being such a great inspirational role model, and for giving children a second chance at life.
Thank you so much for asking me. I'm honored that I had this opportunity to share with you a little bit.
I think back to what my father said to me, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. Go make a difference. So that's why you're here.
Thank you for joining us. If you are a local hero or you know someone who is, please contact us. See you next week.